Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you out there joining us live, and also for those of you watching the replay of this class, webinar, whatever you would like to call it. It is live. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm here to help you improve your social fluency, your confidence, your communication skills, both executive communication skills and social skills, so that you can have better work outcomes, personal outcomes, and improve your communication skills. So that's why we're here today. And I am looking forward to sharing this topic with you, which we're going to get into. But first off, a little bit about me. For those of you who don't know me, if we are meeting for the first time, hello, welcome. My name is Daphne, and I am an executive communication coach. And as an executive communication coach, my passion really lies in helping people and professionals like you become powerful, confident communicators. Whether you're aiming to enhance your executive presence, navigate difficult conversations with ease and poise, or build social fluency, my goal is to empower you with the skills to shine in any social situation and communication context. And I've been very fortunate to spend nearly 2 decades immersed in the world of international communications, television, broadcasting, education, ed tech, and I have my undergrad. I was a double major in both French and communication as my BA, my undergrad, and I also hold 2 master's degrees, one from Bachiller University and the other from Columbia University in New York City, where my focus has always been on leadership, communication strategies, and cross-cultural skills. And as a Fulbright grant recipient and teacher trainer, I've had the absolute incredible opportunity to work with diverse professionals and leaders and executives all around the world, equipping them with communication techniques that are both practical and impactful, as well as data-backed. And, you know, throughout my own journey, career-wise, I've built and developed Explearning Academy, which is our professional development platform at academy.explearning.co that brings together international professionals like you who are dedicated and committed to improving their confidence and communication skills for both work and professional life. So at Explearning Academy, we focus on learning and teaching actionable strategies, practicing essential social skills to boost social fluency and social confidence, and also fostering a supportive community that encourages growth and learning. And the mission is to help empower each member of our community to communicate their value effectively, to boost their confidence, and to enhance their social fluency. And so by doing so, we aim to build and help professionals level up in their careers, have a greater impact both professionally and socially, and also build more deeper and meaningful connections, because that's what makes life what it is. And, you know, if you're here, whether you're here to polish your leadership presence, your executive presence, improve your confidence in business interactions, or boost your social fluency, or just simply to gain some new tools to help you level up your communication game, you are 100% in the right place. I'm so happy you're here. This is a little bit about my methodology and approach. So, you know, data-driven communication strategies where I really ground techniques in research and science, and it's tailored for maximum professional impact. We have very much hands-on learning practice where we have, you know, interactive exercises and real-world scenarios, particularly in our executive coaching program, which is where we also do the live feedback, and also scenarios to help you develop your executive presence and social fluency, as I mentioned. And in that program, you know, we provide personalized coaching and feedback, which is for customized guidance so that we can address your individual needs, enhance your communication skills, and build your confidence in professional and personal scenarios. It's a collaborative growth environment, so the emphasis is also not just on expert feedback, but also on peer support. It is a community of practice where we all learn from each other and grow with each other as well. And we offer transformative and results-focused programs. We've got 5-day challenges, 10-day challenges, a comprehensive 33-module masterclass on executive excellence. And each of our programs and courses are really designed for measurable progress. So you see exactly how you are progressing throughout those modules, throughout those courses and those challenges in these leadership, communication, and social skills lessons. So that's a little bit about that. And in terms of what you can expect today, I'm going to equip you with some wonderful tools and strategies to help elevate your communication skills, particularly your executive communication skills, practical insights to help you build confidence in business communication and boost your social fluency, and also techniques to help you enhance your professional and personal growth. So are you ready for today's class? If so, give me a nice thumbs up in the chat or a nice emoji of your choice. Grab your warm beverage. I have a mint tea. And I'm excited to share this content with you. So let's see your emojis in the chat. It's good practice too to use the chat because, like I said, this is interactive, right? We really want to promote that kind of interaction amongst yourselves as well as with the content that I'm sharing with you here today. Okay, well, our class for today, as you might have seen from the title, is, just one moment, let me share my slides with you. It is about something you may have heard about, transparent communication, right? Transparent communication. So, you know, effective communication is so important, particularly in today's fast-paced world, right? Being transparent and open with people like key stakeholders helps build trust, create rapport, and also build credibility, right? Transparency is what allows you to have more meaningful and authentic interactions at work as well as in life, right? When people feel like they can trust you, they are much more likely to engage and support your initiatives. So we want to strive to, you know, have communication in a clear and honest way because that's what's going to help us foster stronger, more meaningful relationships. And this goes for at work, but as well as in life, you know, in general. Okay. So the power of transparency, right? Being transparent is a critical topic for any organization and company. Transparency is what, you know, how we can build trust among individuals, teams, stakeholders. When people see what's happening, right? When they're aware of what's going on within the company, within the team, within the department, they're much more likely to have confidence in the process and in the outcomes. And ergo, they trust you more, right? Transparency also really strengthens your credibility and your reputation because it fosters a sense of reliability, which is key for maintaining strong relationships, right? And finally, transparent communication ensures that everybody is on the same page, which reduces ambiguity and confusion because those things can easily lead to miscommunications, misalignments, and ultimately potentially lead to conflict. So the clarity is really what keeps the projects and the initiatives moving forward efficiently, which is what we want, right? So embracing transparency really needs to be and should be a priority for all of us. Like I said, at work, but also in life, in your personal relationships and friendships, because it is such a powerful tool for strengthening your organization, for your relationships, and also for achieving your goals. So that's why it's so important. So what is it exactly? Right. Like we said, it's about being open and honest, okay? And really being upfront in our interactions. So not hiding anything, not concealing anything, but really being clear and transparent, okay? It's about, sharing information that is also really clear and concise. So it's avoiding ambiguity or any hidden agendas, right? Because the goal is to deliver messages that are easily understood by everybody. That's intelligibility. We want to be able to create a message that is transmitted very clearly and received very clearly. What's also really amazing is that transparency encourages this two-way dialogue, this back and forth, where people are in a psychologically safe space to feel comfortable to ask questions, to express their concerns, to voice any opinions they might have. And what this does is something truly amazing, which is it builds trust and a shared mutual understanding, which is absolutely key, right? And lastly, here, let's go to this accountability and responsibility part, right? It also involves taking responsibility for our actions and our decisions and standing by what we say, because we really do need to hold ourselves accountable as well, right? We need to acknowledge our mistakes. We need to be open to feedback, receptive to it, and also demonstrate a commitment to continuous improvement. That's what the top leaders do. That's how leaders get to where they are. And it's what you, as maybe even a striving leader and rising leader, should aim to accomplish. Okay. So what are some of the benefits? Well, there are several. Let's look at 4 of them. When people feel like there is openness, there is an increase in trust. Because think about it, when you are, even with your friends, when you feel like you can share something with them, there's going to be a level of perhaps even vulnerability where, you are putting yourself out there, but you know that you can trust this person because they've created a psychologically safe space. It's very similar in this regard with business settings. And transparent communication is so crucial for building trust between not only individuals, but also individuals and organizations, right? And so when people feel informed and respected, it strengthens the relationships within the team, within the department, as well as cross-functionally. And it also improves collaboration because people want to work well with each other, particularly if they feel like they can trust them. And reduced ambiguity and confusion, which we do through clear communication practices, also enables, more efficient decision making and problem solving, which does what? It increases our productivity, which every organization wants, right? Including yourself, because look, when you feel like you've had a productive day, I can speak for myself. When I've had a productive day, I feel really good. I feel really happy. I feel accomplished. I feel like I've done what I needed to do that day. And it's not just with work. It could be with my workout, with my routine, with my relationships, with all types of things. So it's very important, right? And then lastly, a transparent organization and department gains a positive reputation, which is essential if you want to attract customers and investors and top talent as well. So you can see there's so many benefits. There's so many benefits. So how do we foster an environment of transparency and openness? Well, the absolute, first thing, the foundation, as we say, of open communication is trust, right? When people feel safe to share information and ideas without fear of any ramifications or repercussions, okay? Respecting diverse perspectives and viewpoints and worldviews is very important because it shows that you value different viewpoints and experiences, which then in return enriches the dialogue, right? And then also openness means freely sharing information across the organization. You're not hoarding knowledge and just keeping that to yourself and saying, oh, I have all this information and it's just for me only. That's not what transparent communication is about. It's the antithesis of that. It's about sharing, a community of practice, in other words, as well. And then, you know, really we have to get into this mindset of constructive feedback should be welcomed, right? Because that's how we learn, that's how we improve, that's how we grow, okay? Leadership plays a crucial role in modeling transparency and in creating this culture where open communication is the norm. It's what's expected, right? It's not the exception. So that's something to keep in mind as well, particularly if you are somebody who, you know, maybe you run your own company or you run a startup or you're looking to, you know, start something on your own and you have to think about company culture, or maybe you are a manager or a leader at your, you know, company, or you lead a division or a team or a department, right? Or you are looking to do some of those things. This is all very important for our success. So, you know, as leaders and rising leaders, we absolutely need to recognize that fear of negative feedback can be a significant barrier to transparency, right? Because when people are worried about criticism or perhaps any consequences, they may withhold important information or even sugarcoat realities, which again is the opposite of transparent communication. Right? So this can prevent us actually from having an accurate understanding about what's going on, what's really happening in the organization, within the team, in the department. And so to overcome this, we have to figure out a way to create an environment where people feel safe, okay? Feel safe being open and honest, even if it means sharing difficult feedback or anything that might be, you know, difficult. The other thing is lack of trust, right? When there's lack of trust, that's also a major obstacle to transparency, okay? When trust has been broken in the past, either through an unfulfilled promise or even a lack of accountability, right? People are actually, what's going to happen, they'll become more reluctant to be fully transparent because they've had bad experiences with those in the past, right? So what's really important to counteract this is to build a culture of trust, right? That is crucial. We have to figure out a way to demonstrate our commitment to transparency through our actions and also follow through. Not just saying what we want to say or do, but actually follow through on that, to execute on those goals, on those promises, right? Only then can we really expect our teams and our departments and our companies to feel comfortable sharing this information freely and openly and honestly. So it takes work on our part as well, right? It's not just I'll say this and then whatever, we'll see what happens. It's I'll say this and I'm going to stick to my word. I will follow through on this and I will be mindful of how that, you know, gets received among the people I work with, right? So those are some of the barriers and they can have serious ramifications, as you see. So it's important to be aware of that. So as we know, effective communication, like I've said so many times in this webinar, as well as in other lessons and webinars and challenges, because it's so key and it bears repeating, effective communication is key to building a positive and productive workplace, right? Transparency, which is openly sharing information and being honest with your team members, with your employees, with the people you work with, can really help foster trust and engagement. Because when people feel informed and heard and they feel like you are keeping them in the loop, they're going to feel much more invested and valued in the company's success. And that is, of course, going to boost productivity, right? It leads to better work outcomes, better collaboration, more problem solving, even more innovation. Okay, so overall, it contributes to a more positive work environment for absolutely everybody who's there. Okay, so clear, simple language is key to ensuring that everybody understands the message. There's no need to use jargon or technical terms that are not familiar to people, right? Even if there's one other person in the room, let's say you're talking to a whole team of engineers and you yourself are an engineer, but there's one person in there who's a UX designer and is not that familiar with engineering terminology, then you have to be mindful of that and avoid that jargon and that technical language. So it's better to err on the side of, not using jargon, as opposed to just, trying to use it to impress and to establish yourself credibility wise. That's not how we establish credibility, right? Clear and simple language is actually one of the ways that we can establish credibility. Okay, so clear, concise language. The second thing is active listening, because it shows respect, right? It shows respect and it helps confirm that the message is understood by all. And you want to encourage feedback to address any type of misunderstanding or misalignment, because that also helps promote open dialogue. Okay, so it doesn't just come with what you have to say, but it's also any feedback that people have that you can take into consideration. So essential for building trust and communication and also credibility, right? So you really want to try to find out ways within yourself, within the content that you share with people, within the types of leadership styles that you have, perhaps how to share openly and honestly, even when it's difficult, even when it's challenging, because that's when you need it the most, really. Okay, so feedback and active listening are so important for building trust and fostering a culture of continuous improvement, because that's the name of the game. We want to make sure that people are feeling safe to learn new things, explore new things, improve their skills, take that course, be more on top of professional development. So these are things to consider. And what is active listening? Well, we talk about it a lot in the community. We have challenges dedicated and web courses dedicated to active listening because it is that important. It's about really, oops, there goes my desk, up and down. It is about fully engaging, with what somebody's saying, right? Not just waiting to respond or formulate your answer or thinking about what you're going to have later for lunch or dinner. Because when you do active listening, you are more attuned to what they're saying and to how they're saying it. So you understand their perspective more easily, right? And you really do want to establish this kind of system where you get open feedback. Even if it's critical feedback or constructive criticism, you still want to have it because it helps you identify areas for improvement and then also make meaningful changes, right? We want to be in that culture of continuous improvement. So when you share feedback, you want to make sure that it is constructive, but also actionable, right? You can do something with that feedback. So focusing on how to enhance communication and performance, as opposed to just pointing out flaws and saying, oh, this was wrong, I didn't like that, don't do this. But it's more than that. It's like, how do you improve performance, enhance communication? What are the actionable strategies that you can share? Because that's what's so much more powerful. So when we embrace feedback and when we listen actively, we demonstrate our commitment to both personal and professional growth. And that's why we really want to make sure that we are incorporating feedback, both giving and receiving feedback, as well as doing active listening. This is what's going to help you level up your leadership skills and your executive presence and communication. So I really encourage you in your next conversation to be aware of these things and to start implementing them. And speaking of leadership, right? As I said, many of you are leaders, you're managers, you're rising leaders, you are aspiring leaders, you are looking to improve and enhance your executive communication and presence. So we need to talk about transparency and leadership, right? You can imagine like a leader standing on top of a mountain overlooking a vast landscape, right? And there's this, it conjures up this image of this person who has vision and inspiration. That's such a beautiful image, right? So we want to think about, how do we lead by example, right? As leaders, we have got to be open about our actions, about our decisions, and really create an environment where trust and accountability are the norm, not the exception. And to do this, open communication is key. What does that mean? Well, we should, encourage open, transparent dialogue. We should actively listen to feedback, even though it's difficult, right? Some people are really easily able to dish out feedback, but they can't take it. And you've got to be able to take that feedback and even seek it out, right? And then address concerns openly. So if somebody has an issue with something, you actively say, okay, let's figure out a way to resolve this, and you tackle it head on. Okay, this is what creates a space for honest and constructive conversations that need to happen, as opposed to shying away and being nervous about saying the wrong thing or being criticized or whatever it is that we talked about before with the barriers. And also sharing relevant information with the team, with your department, with your unit is so important, right? We need to keep the people we work with informed about any changes, about company goals, about strategies, challenges. Keep people in the loop, right? Because this is what can help promote a sense of ownership and shared purpose, which again creates that camaraderie. It creates that cohesive unit. It promotes productivity and collaboration, which are all amazing things. So this combination of leading by example and open communication and information sharing, right, where you're freely sharing information as opposed to hoarding it and keeping it to yourself, this is the foundation of transparent leadership. Transparent leadership is the name of the game. So let's talk a little bit about, building credibility through transparency. Credibility and trust, right, are essential for any organization to succeed. If it's a startup, if it's a Fortune 500 company, whatever it is, you have got to have trust and credibility, right? Very important. So transparency is a key way to build credibility and trust. You may not have thought about that, right? Because transparency is what involves open and honest communication about decisions that you're making, about motivations that you might have, about the outcomes that you are looking to, create, right? So when you're transparent, even if you're transparent about failures, which is important, and you want to be transparent about failure, that demonstrates both honesty and integrity, two very important qualities for leaders. Okay, so this kind of accountability and this kind of commitment to ethical behaviors helps build confidence in the organization and in your department and in your team. So we really want to think about, holding ourselves accountable, leading by example, being open and honest, and having that integrity, right? So this combination of trust and honesty and integrity that comes from transparency, that's where it's from, is so important for your organization's long-term success and also your credibility, as well as your own credibility as a leader, right? It's also very important for ethical decision making. You might not have thought about that before, but it is, because it allows for open dialogue, open to honest discussion of ethical considerations, right? So when information is transparent and when it's accessible to people, key stakeholders, right, which are very important to keep abreast of the situation, They can make informed decisions that are ethical as well, because they have the necessary context and data, because you've kept them in the loop. You've shared with them every step of the way, progress points. And so they are aware. So transparent decision-making, processes enhance accountability, and that demonstrates an organization's ethical commitment and building trust with stakeholders, because you want to have that trust with stakeholders. It's very important. You can't just, say, okay, this is our project, this is our scope, this is what we're going to do. Please, send us in your investment, and then not keep them in the loop. And then months go by, still no word. And then a big decision is made. It's like, well, why didn't you tell us about this, right? That's not what we want to do. We want to keep them in the loop every step of the way and involve them in the decision-making process as well, right? So this creates accountability and trust, because that's how we, that's how we strengthen those relationships. That's how we get the outcomes that we want. That's how we get repeat business as well. And transparency fosters a culture of openness, right? Where ethical dilemmas can be surfaced and addressed collaboratively, right? So when they surface, we address them in a way that we can, work on something collaboratively and problem solve together, even if that means especially if that means involving key stakeholders. So things to think about, right? This is a lot of information. I encourage you to, watch the replay. That way you can reinforce these concepts, and don't feel like you need to get all this right away. There's just a lot of information to digest. So start with, one thing that really sticks out with you, and then try to take that into your week and apply it to your own department. Or if you're not a leader yet, start putting on that, wearing that jacket, wearing that leadership hat, because people then are going to start noticing that you have leadership qualities, and that's very important. What about with conflict, right? So transparent communication allows for open dialogue where different perspectives can be understood. And that's how we can address conflict, not with just one, way of expressing something or finding a solution, but it's really about creating that safe space for everybody to chime in, and hopefully you'll have different and varying perspectives. It also enables constructive feedback, so parties can express their concerns and work collaboratively towards resolution. And that's what we want when we are, in a situation where there's tension or there's conflict. This also is what transparent communication fosters: mutual respect, right? Because people engage in respectful conversations and they start to listen to each other. That's how they're going to more likely reach a mutually agreeable solution where it's a win-win for everybody. So in all of this, the goal is to create an environment where conflict can be resolved in a productive way. It's not that we completely can avoid conflict. It's just not realistic, because conflict does arise. But the point is, with transparent and open communication and dialogue, we can create this environment there that is psychologically safe for people to voice their concerns and opinions and resolve the conflict in the most productive way as possible. That's what's really beautiful about transparent communication. So in remote kind of situations and hybrid work environments, it's also very important to have transparency, as you may have well experienced, right? Maybe you've experienced transparent communication or lack thereof, right? So what does this mean? Okay, well, firstly, regular updates, meetings, and feedback loops that keep everybody informed and aligned. Okay, then we've got accessible cloud-based information and shared platforms that many of us use, right? So that we can ensure that all team members can access relevant resources, and not just that they can access it, but they know where to go, right? Maybe you even have some sort of employee handbook or an FAQ or a list or an ongoing Slack or a list with links, right? So people know exactly where they can find what they need to find. And leveraging technology like video conferencing, messaging, asynchronous and synchronous, project management software, collaboration tools. This is going to help facilitate communication across distance, regardless of your time zone, regardless of where you find yourself, and with what teams. Maybe you have offshore teams that you do business with, and or virtual assistants, right? So that's the beauty of our current day and age, that we're able to do this. And lastly, transparent communication builds trust and accountability through clear expectations. So you know that you're level setting on expectations. Everyone's clear about it. You've got regular check-ins and also performance feedback. Again, there's that feedback component there, which I wager many of you were not even considering when we talk about transparent communication. But as you know from this class, it is so important to have that open dialogue to foster also the feedback, both the give and the take. Okay, now transparency is key to building trust and ensuring that we can make decisions ethically. Like we said, we talked a little bit about the ethical decision making and involving the stakeholders as well, because it shows that there's a clear view, right, into the organization's processes and the outcomes. So it's not like any decision is just made on a whim, made on the fly. It's very clear, because you see the processes, you see the expected outcomes. And what's great about this is that it allows the stakeholders to see how actions align with the organization's values. So they're like not thinking, well, this decision came out of left field. It's more so, okay, this makes sense because given all of these, systems in place and the processes that they've created, this is the right, step forward. Okay. So what is so amazing about this kind of accountability? Well, it strengthens performance and efficiency, right? Because it creates a culture where people actually feel confident to take accountability and take ownership of their work. They feel good about contributing. They feel good about collaborating. They, have this accountability, and that reduces errors, and it also encourages responsibility. You want people to hold themselves accountable and to do that on their own volition, as opposed to, you as the manager saying, you've got to, hold yourself accountable here. It's like they're already motivated to do so. So, together we've got transparency and accountability, and they create these powerful tools for good governance, for really good governance. So thinking about that as a leader, as a rising leader, how are you going to, show this kind of transparency and accountability and lead by example, right? So how do we cultivate this culture where transparency reigns supreme? Because like we said, it's so important for building trust and credibility within your team, within an organization, within your startup, within your, dream company, whatever that might be, right? Well, it really requires deliberate and an ongoing effort to create this open dialogue, right? Shared information and a commitment to accountability. In other words, you can't just, say one day in a meeting that you're going to have open, transparent culture and then not follow up on that. It's ongoing, right? So you really have to be deliberate in your effort, make sure that people are aware, and you lead by example, and you show them you model the behavior of open communication and collaboration, right? So the first thing is open communication channels, because that encourages open and honest dialogue between all the members of your team, of your department, of your organization, right? Also providing access to relevant information, because that promotes shared understanding, and it also empowers employees. And like I said, they know exactly where to go. They know where to look. So it's not just giving them that information, you also empower them with where they can find it, right? And don't make it difficult for them to find that information. Also, thinking about accountability and feedback, right? So people feel really committed to continuous improvement, and they know that just like they're going to receive feedback from you, you will also receive feedback from them, because you've created a culture of transparency where you honor and welcome feedback. Okay, and then also explaining the rationale behind decisions can also increase trust and also increase buy-in from key stakeholders. So again, you don't want to just make a decision, you want to explain why that decision was made. And if people have information as to how you've made that decision, how you've arrived at that conclusion or at that decision, because the transparent communication has been an ongoing process, they see the processes in place, they see the systems that you've created, those decisions do not come out of left field and they're like very confused as to why that decision was made. No, it's very clear. And then on top of that, you also explain the rationale. Like, why was it that you made that decision? Why, as a leader, did you decide that was the right decision to make, right? You explain that. You explain that. And so by creating this culture of transparency, teams, departments, organizations can build stronger relationships, also improve performance, and foster a more ethical and productive workplace, which is what we want, because that's what, how you can increase productivity. That's how you keep the retention high, and people are also happy. So the morale is up, it increases. Very, very important. What about in customer relationships? Well, it's also important for retaining customers and getting repeat business, right? Like when customers, think about it, when customers perceive honesty and openness from a business, they're much more likely to trust them and be loyal to that company, whatever kind of company it is. So it's important to think about that too as a company. Maybe you have your own company or you're looking to start something, right? Really thinking about how can you leverage transparent communication. It also helps customers feel, valued and heard, and that leads to higher satisfaction. So you're not keeping anybody in the dark, right? The other thing is that customers are much more likely to remain loyal when they see that a company is transparent and truthful. So, something happens, they explain why it was that happened, or there's some change in schedule, they explain that, or maybe a product has changed, they explain why that's the case. Maybe something has gone out of stock. Again, there's an explanation for all of this. So positive word of mouth and online reviews can also result from a reputation of transparency. So people feel comfortable to voice those opinions or share that feedback, or write that review, write that testimonial. That's part of transparent communication. So transparency in all customer interactions is very important for developing deep and meaningful relationships, not just within teams, but also for your customers and improving customer relationships. Like you can think of your own brands that you love and companies that you love. Hopefully they're transparent with the way they run their business. Also, we have to think about, during a crisis, what happens, right? Being open and honest in our communication is crucial, right? Because, well, you may have guessed it, but it reduces anxiety among stakeholders, and it also builds trust. Again, building trust is key. So we really need to find a way to, share information, of course, promptly and honestly, especially in a crisis time, demonstrating our commitment to navigating the challenges effectively and showing that you're on top of, the situation. You're not just gonna hide in the closet and, hope that everything, works out. It's not that way. Unfortunately, we have to be proactive. And also, proactive updates. So providing regular updates on the situation, keeping people in the loop again, and showing them and telling them about the actions that are being taken, because that reassures not just the people that you work with or that you manage, but also it reassures key stakeholders that the crisis, whatever it is being addressed responsibly and in a timely manner, right? And of course, we have empathy and compassion, which is important because that helps, by acknowledging and even validating, but acknowledging the impact of the crisis and expressing genuine concern for those that are affected, that fosters a sense of shared understanding and support. So we always want to lead with empathy and compassion, because that is how we're going to, really establish ourselves as somebody who listens, as somebody who is empathetic, as somebody who, as a leader who takes in everyone's, considerations into account and tries to accommodate as best they can. All right. And really lead ethically and empathetically and responsibly. And again, at the core of that, transparent communication. So it's also key for boosting employee morale and engagement. We kind of alluded to that earlier, where, when employees feel that there's trust and there's transparency, you just feel really good about it, right? You feel more valued, you feel more invested in your work, and that can perpetuate this amazing cycle of motivating. And it, maybe starts out as extrinsic motivation, but then it starts to, come through as intrinsic motivation. And that's, of course, the longer lasting type of motivation. It also helps, employees and your team members to understand the company's goals, the expectations, the progress, and that enables them to perform at their highest level. So people want to be part of teams where, they feel good about what they're working on. People are all coming together to collaborate and to problem solve and to be at their best and peak performance, right? Transparent workplaces also tend to have lower turnover and higher retention, because employees who feel informed and appreciated are much more satisfied and committed to the organization. Think about that in your own experience, right? When you had a boss who was transparent with you and kept you in the loop of, different decisions that were being made, you were probably much more likely to stay at that company, and because you felt invested in, you felt valued, you felt appreciated, right? And you also felt like you could work well with people there, right? So that satisfaction goes up. The turnover is lower. The retention is higher. You have boosted morale, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing, right? So of course, that's going to promote stronger teamwork, right? Because that allows employees to share their ideas openly, to work together efficiently and effectively, and to really have this sense of teamwork, that you go to work and you're happy to be working alongside these amazing people. These amazing people. Okay, so it's also really important for organizations to understand the effectiveness and identify areas for improvement, because again, just like we are constant lifelong learners and we strive for continuous improvement, companies do too, right? That's how they put out amazing products. That's how they put out great services. That's how they stay, at the level that they stay and the caliber that they're at. So we can look at, key performance indicators, which are KPIs and metrics, to measure the impact, okay? Measure the impact of transparent communication. So things like employee satisfaction metrics, they could include engagement surveys, they could include feedback forms, retention rates, right? This is really good data. With customer loyalty metrics, you could think of the satisfaction surveys again, also feedback forms and retention rates. The net promoter score, right? The repeat purchase rates, how many repeat purchases has an individual or a company made, right? Are they coming back for repeat business? And then financial performance metrics, you can look at the revenue growth, the profitability, market share, and investor confidence. So if you have VC funding, how confident do they feel in your brand, in your company, in your, product? And then lastly, the reputation and trust metrics can include brand perception studies that you might have, some media coverage, perhaps social media sentiment analysis are also great KPIs for this as well. So when you think about it, tracking these metrics can provide insight into the positive effects of transparent communication on your business's performance. So maybe you take some of these into account or one of these into account, but really kind of thinking about, okay, how do you measure the impact of transparent communication? Because there is a positive impact of it on it, right? Especially that we talked about the benefits, as we know. So what's the way forward? Well, ultimately, fostering an environment of openness and transparency is so important for long-term success and for employee satisfaction, which is why I am so bullish on, you starting to implement these strategies right away, because the more transparent and open your communication is, the better. And as we saw from, all of the examples that I shared and the strategies and the tools that I gave you, transparent communication really is a key to success and a key to successful leadership. So how are you going to start implementing these strategies? Like I said, I don't want you to feel like overwhelmed and try to do all of these things, but maybe you start with one strategy, or you start thinking about, okay, how can I be more open in my dialogue? How do I share information as opposed to hoarding it? How do I, create a culture where people on my team feel confident voicing their own opinions? How do I invite dissenting, opinions? And even if somebody doesn't agree with me, I want to hear what they have to say. How do I start working more on active listening, right? All of this is going to help you get closer to transparent communication and also transparent leadership, which is so important, particularly if you are serious about, leveling up in your careers, climbing the corporate ladder, maybe starting your own business, excelling in your professional life, as well as, of course, in your personal life. So a lot of the strategies that I shared with you today for this executive communication, arena will also very much align with your personal lives and with your, social confidence in the other types of settings outside of work. So it's always a good idea to, practice the strategies that I'm giving you, and not just in the workplace, but also in your social lives, and see how, you can tweak and modify things, because of course we have to be flexible in our communication approach. We've got to be adaptable, right? Like chameleons. We're able to adapt to our situation and be very attuned to what's going on. So if you want to practice more, then I invite you to come into our community. We've got a self-study program, which you can, take all of our courses and our web courses, and we've got live webinars, and we've got live classes, we've got monthly challenges and web courses, we've got interactive chats, we've got video call meetups where you can meet with people in the community, other members. We've got thousands of members in our community, and it's still growing. And, we've got modern executives, people who are leaders and rising leaders, and people who are serious about improving their social skills and their executive communication. So this is a wonderful place for you to continue the learning journey, to get expert feedback, to be part of a community of practice, and to, also make friends along the way, and to be connected to people. And who knows, you might meet your future business partner or your future best friend, right? You never know who you're going to meet, because this is a global community and it's filled with amazing people like yourselves. So you can scan the QR code and you will get access to our app, which you can easily, download. And as you see, here's the prices. And so it's a great affordable price point for what you're getting. Lots of value, and we're constantly adding new things, and there's something in here for everybody. So I really encourage you, if you're serious, to check it out. And you can also go to our website and see the testimonials from our happy customers and members and see what they have to say. In fact, one of them is this: best investment, you won't regret it. So nice and sweet and to the point, really hitting the nail on its head. You won't regret it. It's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in your future, and your future self will thank you. So love that. And I really appreciate you joining me today. Speaking about investing in yourself, well done. Pat yourself on the back. You made it here. You invested 1 hour in your learning and professional development. So I commend you for that. And as always, the replay is available, as well as the slides PDF in our community, and any other resources that I share with you will be available through that portal as well. So I look forward to seeing you in another live class. I would love to hear your feedback on this session. So when the replay is up, please let me know what you think. Tell me, one strategy that you're going to take away and use this week. And I'm excited to hear from you. All right, everybody, take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you very soon. Bye. Take care.